Hey there, are you a woodworker with a pile of wood scraps laying around? Would you like a way to be able to turn those scraps into unique, handmade gifts that everybody will love? Well, you have clicked on the right video because I'm going to show you a fast, fun, and easy way to turn those wood scraps into beautiful carved feathers. Perfect as gifts for friends and family. So let's get started. For this demo, I'm going to be using a piece of cherry, but you can use whatever you have on hand. Just keep in mind that softwoods get a little bit fuzzy and don't hold fine detail quite as well as hardwoods do. But if softwoods are what you have, then go for it. As for tools, I'm going to be doing all the carving with a Dremel and a few different carving burrs. Of course, you don't need the exact same ones that I'm using, but I'll drop links down in the description below in case you're curious as to where to get them. The piece of cherry that I'm using is about 7.5 inches long, 2.5 inches wide, and 3/16 of an inch thick. But of course, those dimensions are completely flexible. You can go bigger, you can go smaller, whatever works with the wood scraps that you have and whatever size feather that you want to carve.
All right, so the first step in making our feather is we want to sketch it onto our piece of scrap here. And I'm just kind of making a nice gentle curve that kind of goes off to the right. You can go to the right, you can go to the left, you can go straight, you can do whatever works for you. I just happen to like going off to the right. And so then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to kind of come up here with a nice sharp angle. Then start to curve that around. And now I'm going to want this line to basically just run parallel to that first line that I drew in, this stem here. This line, I really just want to follow the same arch and run more or less parallel with that first line that I drew. By the way, if you're doing this on a piece of walnut or maybe wenge or some dark wood like that, you might want to get yourself a white colored pencil. And that's going to make this a whole lot easier on you. So then I'm just going to get my arch as I'm coming around to the top. And just bring that around. And I'm just going to leave that for now. We'll hook up with that later. And come back down to the bottom here. Pretty much do the same thing. I'm coming up with an angle here. Then I'm just going to bring that around. And once again, just run mostly parallel with that first line that I drew. And just bring that up and hook up here. I might actually fix this a little bit. I'm going to get this coming up just a little bit so it's more headed right to the top of my arch there. There, all right, so there's our feather.
All right, so as you can see, that was a really pretty easy sketch, and I really encourage everyone to just try that out on their own. But if you're feeling stuck or you just need some sort of starting point, you can head over to my website, jmawoodstudio.com. Scroll all the way to the bottom, and down there you'll see a little link that says Feather Template. Just click on that. That'll give you a template that you can print out, cut out, and trace. No one will ever know. All right, so now it's time to get this thing cut out. And there's a bunch of ways you could do this. You could do this on a scroll saw. You could do this with a jigsaw. You could do this with a coping saw. I'm going to be doing mine on a bandsaw. And so let's get to it.
All right, so we got our form all cut out. I'll just point out I did leave my quill just a little bit on the thick side because that's going to get all carved and refined later on in the process. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to attach it to this block of wood. It's long enough that I can put my feather on here, and then it's wide enough that I can hold on to this, comfortably without worrying about, hitting my hands. And so what I've got on here is a couple of pieces of spec tape. This is just a brand of double-sided tape that I like a lot. There's several different brands. I know a lot of people use Hippie Crafters, and that's really good stuff too. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick this onto here. That's just going to give me a nice platform to be able to, hold and do the carving. So that's what I like to do. I like to wear a leather glove on my left hand whenever I'm doing carving. Just because, getting these burrs into your hand is really unpleasant. I don't recommend it. So yeah, I'll be using a leather glove to hold on to my feather. And so the first thing we're going to do is get our center stem well defined. I'm going to be doing that with this dovetail bit. So I'm going to take this and just trace along here and get that isolated. If you're not familiar with wood carving, I'm also going to be moving the tool opposite of the rotation of the burr. Basically, that's going to be a right to left direction. So you want to be working against the direction of the burr. If you were to go with the direction, well, it's really going to want to take off on you. And so let's get that started. All right, so now I got my center line well defined in here. And so now what I want to do is go and just start thinning all this out on both sides of my feather. And so I'm going to be doing that with this cylindrical burr. And I'm just going to be coming in here and just getting this all thinned out while this center line stays at its original thickness. Okay, I got my sides all thinned out real nice, but I really kind of want to come in and clean up some of these lines in here now. And so for that, I'm going to be using this straight carbide burr, and that's going to do a really good job of just kind of cleaning up those lines and just kind of refining the stem for me. So now it's time to carve in the lines of our feather. And I've got a couple of different burrs that I like to use for this. The first one I'm going to be doing is this inverted cone carbide burr. This is almost like a dovetail, just not quite as extreme, but I'm just going to be using the corners to get up in here, and I'm going to be making these little diagonal lines coming off of here. And the other thing about this is, earlier I was talking about going against the rotation of the burr, but I've actually found that going with the rotation for this step produces a much finer line. It will take off on me a little bit, so sometimes I'll play around with different speeds, different amounts of pressure. Of course, different woods can have different effects, but eventually just kind of get into a groove. So let's do it. All right, so you can see that burr does a pretty nice job getting some nice fine lines. I do have some dings in the sides of my center line here, but that's totally fine. We're gonna come in and clean those up later on. So now I'm gonna do the other side using a different burr. I'm gonna be doing this side in this one. This is a 4mm knife edge jeweler's burr. This is something that jewelers use a lot. This I found gets an even finer line in here and allows me to get even up closer to my stem without dinging it up so much. And so I really like using this one here. One thing to note about this bit is it does have a 3/32 inch shaft on here. Now, I'm not really all that familiar with the whole line of Dremels, and so I don't really know whether, your Dremel would be able to take a 3/32 inch shaft. Maybe somebody out there is more knowledgeable about this and can drop a comment down below. So I'm going to go in with this burr and put the lines on the other side. All right, so maybe you can see how I was able to get much finer lines on this side than I was on this side. You know, this is a little bit more akin to a natural feather, but you know, this isn't biology class, this is art class, so really whichever one you go with is gonna be totally fine. And so now I'm gonna come back with that inverted cone burr, and I'm gonna clean up all these little gouges that I have on the side of my stem here, and just kind of come in and take those out. All right, this thing is almost done. I've gone ahead and taken it off of that block, and now I'm just going to come in and round out my quill as the last carving step. And for that, I'm going to be going back to this cylindrical burr and just kind of take out my corners. I want to leave some thickness on here because if I get this too thin, well, it's going to break. So maybe go ahead and leave a little bit extra thickness on here, and it's going to look just fine. All right, so we have ourselves a feather. And so, you know, it's really entirely up to you whether you want to do a finish. You could just leave it like this, or you could put some sort of finish on here. You know, if you're going to do a finish, I'd really recommend something really easy, you know, a Danish oil, linseed oil. In this case, I have this Sam Maloof oil. And so literally, I'm just going to take this thing and I am just going to dunk it in here. And let's take a rag. We dunk that other side. And just wipe this off. All right, we have got ourselves a wooden feather. Hey, thanks for watching. You know, I've really been getting into wood carving and bandsaw boxes and wood art in general. And so if you're into that sort of thing too, you know, feel free to give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe. I've got plenty of fun woodworking projects that anyone can tackle in their spare time. And if you're interested in making bandsaw boxes at all, I have a 90-minute video course. It comes with 2 sets of templates. And for watchers of this channel, I'm offering a 10% discount code. Just enter the word feather at checkout to get your 10% off, and you can find all of that at jmawoodstudio.com. Thanks for watching.